Recently, I've got a lot of questions about the Saxo Bank broker, but today we're going to be comparing Saxo Bank with Invidia Trade to decide which one is better. None of this is financial advice, but let's dive into this. So here we are in Invidia Trade, and here we can see that these guys are fully regulated, licensed, secure, and they allow you to trade and invest in the most effective way. Now, I'm going to explain why this is true, but let's compare a few of the features and what you really should be looking at with a broker when it comes to actually deciding which one to pick and trading with. So when we're talking about regulation to begin with, we can scroll down here and see that yes, we can see that Invidia Trade is regulated in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, whereas Saxo, on the other hand, these guys are actually more regulated as a bank, which basically means that they are a lot more restricted in terms of people trading from abroad. So here we can see they're regulated in Singapore, which is going to have a lot more restrictions than, say, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So you could probably access Saxo from certain major countries, but in terms of accessing Invidia Trade, you basically have access from over 200 different countries because of their specific regulations. Now, when it comes to leverage, this is an important factor when choosing a broker. So here we can see on the Wiki FX, which is basically a wiki for all brokers, we can see that yes, Saxo offer 100x, which is pretty decent for a bank-based broker. But if we head over to Invidia Trade and we scroll down, these guys actually allow you access to over 500x leverage. So if you're trading something like forex that doesn't move that many percentage points per day, I mean, this is going to be way more profitable if you are a profitable trader. So good stuff there. Now, when comparing spreads here, we can see on Invidia Trade, the typical spreads are from 0.8 pips. Now, on Saxo, it's actually saying that yes, they do have 0.6 pips here, but there are all sorts of hidden fees. And when you're talking about trading decent pairings like crypto and other stuff like this, you're not going to have as much access and low fees on something like Saxo compared to Invidia Trade. So yes, when it comes to spreads, I would definitely give it to Invidia Trade just based on my personal experience. These guys definitely have lower spreads when you're accounting for all of the different assets, right? These guys are basically just saying, hey, these are your forex spreads on the major pairs. But when we're talking about Invidia Trade, you actually find that a lot of the forex pairs are cheaper here on Invidia Trade than on Saxo from my experience. Now, when it comes to trading on different platforms such as TradingView, MetaTrader, stuff like this, Invidia Trade definitely takes the cake here because we can see they give you access to TradingView, MetaTrader 4 and 5, CloudVision X, CloudTrader View. So no matter what type of trader you are, or if you're a beginner, I mean, it's definitely going to be better to be using Invidia Trade because you have that TradingView access as well. Now, on Saxo, because they're a bank, they don't really have access to that much in terms of different places to trade. They do have their own app here, but overall, I do think in terms of having access and versatility when trading, I would say Invidia Trade does win on that front because as you can see here, yes, they have an app, but it looks incredibly complicated. And if you were to just connect Invidia Trade up to TradingView, something everyone's comfortable with, or MetaTrader, yes, I mean, you're going to have a lot better of a time, particularly if you're switching brokers. Now, when it comes to actual assets to trade, I do think that Saxo have a lot, but because they are a bank and they're more on a regulated structure, you will have a lot higher fees for all of these. And if we are just comparing that with Invidia Trade, I do think, yes, you're going to be able to trade pretty much the same amount of assets, but you're going to get those cheaper fees based on the regulations associated with Invidia Trade. Now, when it comes to infrastructure and the speed of which you can trade, Invidia Trade, in my opinion, is a lot faster because of their more modern and up-to-date infrastructure. Whereas Saxo is actually more of a bank, so they're using old tech. And when it comes to withdrawals specifically here, I would definitely say Invidia Trade wins on that front as well, because if you are withdrawing for a bank, sometimes it can take up to 5 days here. Whereas on Invidia Trade, it's basically instant. Like the longest I've had to wait for Invidia Trade withdrawals is probably a few hours here. This will obviously depend on what country you're in, but comparing this to something like Saxo that's a bank, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have a lot better and an easier time with Invidia Trade. So overall, comparing these two brokers, we are gonna say it's an obvious win for Invidia Trade. Yes, Saxo does have that regulation, but you're gonna be limited when it comes to withdrawals, speed, fees, and pretty much everything when comparing it to Invidia Trade. So definitely check out Invidia Trade in the description. description, guys. That is going to be it from me. Have a fantastic day. I will see you in the next one.